The blade came down before the translation finished. Cole Ferris was still saying the word for peace when the Hunt Lord swung. He heard the sound a body makes when it is no longer a body, and then the great hall of the Careth went very quiet, the way a forest goes quiet when something large has eaten. On the black stone floor lay the first human ever to set foot inside the Hunt Reach, a survey captain named Dana Holt, who had come unarmed, who had bowed, who had offered an open hand. Now she lay still, and her open hand was open at nothing. Cole did not scream. He had been trained not to scream. He was a translator, 26 years old, not a soldier, and his entire job was to make sound into meaning. So he stood at the edge of the dais with his recorder still running and made himself remember every detail, because someone would need to know exactly what had happened here, and there was a fair chance that someone would never be him. The Hunt Lord lifted the blade and let the light run along it. He was 3 times Cole's height, plated in dark chitin grown rather than forged, and his 4 eyes settled on Cole the way a predator settles on the slowest animal in a herd. Behind him, ranked along the curved walls, 200 hunters of the warrior caste struck their chests in approval. The sound rolled like surf. "Tell your kind what you saw," the Hunt Lord said, and the translator unit in Cole's collar turned the clicks and growls into clean words. "Tell them the Careth do not bargain. We do not trade. We hunt, and what we hunt belongs to us. Your captain came onto our ground and offered her hand as if we were beggars, so we took the hand. Go home, small thing. Carry the lesson." Cole's mouth was dry. He found that he could still speak. The recorder in his collar was still running. He could feel its small weight against his throat, and some cold professional corner of his mind, the part that had not yet caught up to what his eyes had seen, kept doing its job. It logged the height of the dais. It logged the count of hunters along the walls. It logged the exact angle of the blade, and the exact words and the exact way 200 warriors had struck their chests in approval at the death of a woman who had come with empty hands. Later, Cole would be glad of that cold corner. Later, those exact details would matter more than anything else in the galaxy. For now he only knew that he had to keep it running, because Dana Holt could no longer record anything, and someone had to. "She came to ask for safe passage," he said. "That was all. A survey lane through the dark edge of your space. She offered payment. She offered maps. She offered weakness," the Hunt Lord said, "and weakness is an invitation." He flicked the blade clean. "Your people drift in their soft ships at the rim of the galaxy. 40 years you have crawled outward. 40 years the elder powers have watched you and decided you are not worth the cost of a war. They are right. You are not a war. You are a meal that has not yet noticed the teeth." The hunters struck their chests again. 2 of them came down off the wall and took Cole by the arms, not gently, and turned him toward a side passage. He understood that he was being allowed to live. He understood, with a cold clarity that surprised him, exactly why. A dead messenger carries nothing. A living one carries fear. They marched him through the stone corridors of the Careth flagship, a vessel the hunters called the Bone Throne, a kilometer of grown black armor that had cracked open more colonies than Cole wanted to count. At a docking spur they shoved him toward the little human shuttle that had brought the survey team in under a flag of parley. The flag still hung from the hull, soft blue, absurd now. "There is one more thing," the Hunt Lord's voice said, carried down the corridor by some grown vein of the ship. "When you reach your masters, tell them this. The Careth claim the survey lane. The Careth claim every world that touches it. And the Careth claim the right to do to any human what was done today, whenever it pleases us. If your kind objects, let them come and object. We will be hunting. We are always hunting." Cole climbed into the shuttle. His hands were shaking, and he hated that they were shaking, and he could not make them stop. On the floor of the cabin, wrapped in the blue parley flag, because the hunters had thrown it after him like garbage, was Dana Holt. They had let him take the body. He realized later that this too was a message. They wanted Earth to see. The shuttle dropped from the Bone Throne and burned hard for the jump line. Behind it, the Careth fleet hung in the dark like a field of black thorns. 400 ships at this gathering alone, and the hunters did not even watch the shuttle go. To watch would have been to admit there was something worth watching. They turned back to their hunt songs and let the small thing run. Cole ran. The jump took him out of the hunt reach and across 2 days of empty space to the nearest human relay, a quiet station called Halsey's Reach that orbited a brown dwarf and existed mostly to listen. He did not sleep. He sat with the recorder in his lap and the body of his captain at his feet, and he composed, word by careful word, the report he would have to give. He was a translator. He believed in words. He believed that if he chose the right ones, the people who heard them would understand. Twice during the long jump, the shuttle's proximity alarm woke and went silent. Both times the dark was empty. The hunters were not chasing him. They did not consider him worth chasing. A fleeing translator carrying a dead captain was, to the warrior caste, exactly as harmless as it looked, and they let him run for the same reason a hunter lets a wounded animal carry the scent of fear back to the herd. Cole understood the logic of it, and the understanding made him colder than fear ever could have. They had not spared him. They had used him. He was not a survivor. He was a tool, and the Hunt Lord had picked him up and pointed him at Earth like a thrown stone. What the Hunt Lord did not know, what no Kareth knew, was where the stone would land, or what it would wake when it got there. He had no idea how completely Earth would understand. The relay caught his signal and pulled him in. Medics took the body. A station officer took the recorder, and then, because Cole was the only living witness, they put him in a small white room and told him to wait, and he waited, and the waiting stretched into something he could not name. Around him the station grew busy, in a way stations do not usually grow busy. Doors opened that he had not known were doors. Voices that did not introduce themselves asked him to repeat, again, exactly, what the Hunt Lord had said. He repeated it. He repeated it 11 times. Each time the room got quieter, and the faces got harder. The questions were always the same, and they were always about the words, not the weapons the Kareth carried, not the size of their fleet. The faces in the white room wanted the words. What exactly did the Hunt Lord say? In what order? Did he say claim or did he say take? Did he understand that you would repeat it? Each time Cole answered, the questioners would glance at one another, and something would pass between them that he could not read, and they would write it down, and they would ask again. Cole did not understand, at first, why the precise words mattered so much. He understood weapons mattered. He understood numbers mattered. He did not yet understand that to the people in the white room, the words were the only thing that mattered, because the words were the line. For 40 years, a single sentence had sat at the center of the human program like a lock waiting for a key, and the sentence was this: if anyone ever decides that killing one of us is free. The Hunt Lord had not just killed Dana Holt, he had said the words. He had declared on the record, with a witness, that the Kareth claimed the right to do it again at no cost. He had turned the key, and the people in the white room were not interrogating Cole. They were confirming, beyond any possible doubt, that the lock had truly been opened, because once they acted on it, there would be no closing it again. On the third day a woman came in alone. She wore no rank he recognized, only a plain gray coat, and she sat across from him and folded her hands and looked at him for a long moment before she spoke. "Mr. Ferris," she said, "my name is Iris Vance. I want you to tell me one thing, and I want you to be exact, because the exact words matter more than you can imagine. When the Hunt Lord told you to carry the lesson home, when he said the Kareth claimed the right to do that to any human whenever it pleases them, did he understand that you would repeat it? Was it a slip or a message?" "A message," Cole said. "He wanted Earth to hear it. He let me live so Earth would hear it." Iris Vance nodded slowly, as if he had confirmed something she had hoped very much was not true. "Then he will be heard," she said. "Every word. I promise you that." She stood. At the door she paused. "You did your job, Mr. Ferris," she said. "You carried it home. Now we'll carry it back." The door closed, and Cole sat alone, and somewhere very far away, in places with no names that appeared on any map, People who had spent 40 quiet years building things in the dark began, very calmly, to wake those things up. The Kareth had made one mistake, and it was not cruelty. The galaxy was full of cruelty. Their mistake was arithmetic. They had looked at humanity drifting at the rim in soft survey ships, and they had counted the soft ships, and they had concluded that the soft ships were all there was. They had not asked why a young species would send unarmed survey captains so far from home with such confidence. They had not asked what kind of people build a thing and then choose not to show it. They had counted what they could see and called the count complete. The Hunt Lord had said it himself. 40 years you have crawled outward. He thought of those 40 years as weakness. He did not consider that a species could spend 40 years not crawling, but building and waiting and deciding very deliberately not to be seen until being seen would mean something. Dana Holt had offered an open hand because Earth had genuinely hoped the open hand would be enough. Earth had hoped right up until the moment the blade came down. And the thing about an open hand is that it can close. In the White Room, Cole Ferris finally slept, and he dreamed of the great quiet hall and the sound a body makes, and he woke with his jaw aching from clenching. When the station lights came up, he asked the officer who brought his meal what was happening, why the station was suddenly so full, why ships kept arriving that the station was not large enough to hold. The officer, a young man not much older than Cole, looked at him with an expression Cole would remember for the rest of his life. It was not fear. It was something closer to relief, and under the relief, something cold and patient and very nearly glad. They executed one of ours, the officer said, under a parley flag, with a witness, on purpose, so we'd know it was deliberate. He set the meal down and straightened. Mr. Ferris, you've been out of contact for 3 days, so you don't know yet, but the order already went out. It went out the hour your report cleared. What order? Cole asked. The young officer almost smiled. Assembly, he said. All of it. Every yard, every reserve, every hull we ever told the galaxy we didn't have. They're calling it home. He paused at the door. You want to know what's happening on this station? This station is a drop of rain, Mr. Ferris. You're about to see the storm. 3 light-years from Halsey's reach, in a system that had no name because Earth had deliberately left it off every chart, the first Dreadnought lit its engines. It was called the Ashfall, and it had been waiting in the dark for 19 years. 6 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull was a dull gray that drank light, scarred not by battle but by the long patience of a thing built and then hidden. When its drives woke, the cold of 2 decades cracked off its plating in sheets of frost that turned to vapor and trailed behind it like a shroud coming loose. Inside, 1,200 crew came out of cold rotation and found their stations, and the captain, a broad gray-haired man named Otis Ward, read the order off the screen without changing his expression. Confirm it, he said. His executive officer, a sharp young woman named Priya San, read it back. Assembly order, authenticated, triple seal. The Kareth executed a survey captain under parley. Witness recovered. The Hunt Lord declared open hunting on all humans, all human worlds touching the survey lane. Command response is total. She looked up. Sir, the response code is Tidewall. Otis Ward closed his eyes for a moment. Tidewall was a word he had hoped never to hear spoken aloud. It was the word for the whole fleet. Not a squadron, not a battle group. The whole fleet, the one Earth had built across 40 years and shown to no one, the one the Elder Powers had decided did not exist because they had never once seen it. How many of us answer Tidewall? Priya asked quietly. Otis Ward opened his eyes. All of us, he said. Every hull. 500,000. She did not gasp. She had been raised in the program. She knew the number the way other people knew their own birthday. But hearing it ordered, hearing that the entire thing was being called at once for the first time in the history of the species, made even Priya San go very still. Then we move, she said. The Ashfall turned its long gray bow toward the dark edge of the galaxy and began, with terrible calm, to build speed, and across 2,000 systems, in buried yards and mothballed reserves and quiet rings around dead stars, the others answered. They had been seeded everywhere precisely so that no enemy could ever find them all in one place. Now, for the first time, they all moved at once, toward one point, for one reason. Otis Ward had spent his whole life inside the program, and even he had never seen the number move. No one had. It had been a principle of the fleet from the very first hull that Tidewall would only ever be called once, if it was called at all, because the moment the galaxy saw the true size of it, the secret was spent forever. There would be no taking it back. The soft survey ships, the bows, the open hands, the long patient pretense of weakness, all of it died the instant Tidewall went out. The program had built 500,000 dreadnoughts and prayed, for 40 years, that it would never have to use a single one of them, because using them meant the open hand had failed. The open hand had failed. The Hunt Lord had brought the blade down on it. "Sir," Priya San said quietly, watching the order scroll past, watching the authentication seals stack one on top of another. "If we do this, the galaxy knows. All of it. Everything we hid. Forever. There's no undoing it." "I know," Otis Ward said. "Then it really is true. We're really doing it. We're really doing it." He looked at the dark ahead. They made it free, Priya, under a parlay flag, with a witness, on purpose. That was the one line. The only line. They drew it themselves. His voice was flat and certain. "Set the course. We go to the rendezvous. We go to the number." The galaxy had no idea. The galaxy was about to find out. On Halsey's Reach, Cole Ferris watched ships arrive that should not have fit. The little listening station had berths for 40 vessels. By the end of the first week, 300 warships hung in formation around it, and these were only the near reserves, only the closest hulls, only the leading edge of a thing whose true size Cole could not yet imagine. He stood at a viewport with Iris Vance beside him and watched a cruiser slide past, 2 kilometers of gray steel, its flanks lined with gun batteries that had never fired in anger, and he found he had no words, which for a translator was a strange and frightening thing. "You hid all this," he said finally, "for 40 years. We built it for 40 years. Iris Vance corrected. "We hid it for 39. She watched the cruiser pass. "When humanity went out into the dark, Mr. Ferris, we found out very quickly what kind of place it was. We met the Kareth in our second decade. We met 3 other powers like them. Every one of them measured us by what they could see, and every one of them concluded the same thing the Hunt Lord concluded. Soft, young, a meal that hasn't noticed the teeth." She turned to him. "So we made a choice. We would let them keep believing it. We would crawl outward in soft ships and bow and offer open hands and absorb the insults, and behind that, where no scanner could find it, we would build the largest fleet this galaxy has ever held, and we would never, ever show it. Not for trade, not for pride, not to win an argument." "Then when?" Cole asked. "Only this," she said. "Only the one thing. If they ever decided that killing us was free, if they ever looked at a human under a flag of truce and decided there would be no cost." She let the silence sit. The Kareth just decided that. On camera, with a witness they sent home on purpose. Her voice did not rise. It went lower, and somehow that was worse. They wanted Earth to know it was deliberate. Well, now Earth knows. Cole looked back out at the gathering ships, 300 where there should have been 40, and he understood that he was looking at the smallest possible fraction of what was coming. He thought of the Hunt Lord saying, "You are not a war, you are a meal," and for the first time since the blade came down, he felt something other than grief. He felt the floor of the galaxy beginning to tilt. "What do you need from me?" he asked. "Why am I still here? You have my recording. You have my report. I'm a translator. There's no language in any of this that needs translating." Iris Vance looked at him for a long moment. "There's exactly one," she said, "the most important one in the galaxy right now, and you're the only living person who speaks it." She nodded out at the warships. "You're the witness, Mr. Ferris. You stood in that hall. You watched the blade come down. When the time comes to tell the Kareth and the galaxy, exactly what this is, and exactly why. It can't be a captain who says it. It can't be a politician. It can't be me. It has to be the one who was there, the one they sent home on purpose to carry their lesson. They chose you to deliver their message. Her voice cooled. So you're going to be the one who delivers ours. The truth, spoken by the one person they themselves picked to speak it. There's a kind of justice in that I think even the Kareth will understand, eventually. Cole was quiet for a long time. Then I'll learn it, he said. Whatever you need me to say, I'll say it exactly right. I know you will, Iris said. That's why you're still here. The Kareth, for their part, were celebrating. In the Hunt Reach, the killing of the human captain had become a song. The hunters sang it in their grown ships and on their thorn worlds, a song about the small soft thing that had offered its hand and lost it, about the Hunt Lord who had taught the Rim its place. The voice of the Hunt, the council of war that ruled the warrior caste, declared a season of taking. They would push outward along the survey lane. They would hunt the human colonies that touched it, one by one, and they would do it slowly, because the slowness was the pleasure. The galaxy's elder powers heard of it and shrugged. The humans had it coming, they said. The humans had crawled too far. Let the Kareth thin them. It was the way of things. None of them noticed, in those first weeks, that the human survey ships had stopped crawling. The soft little vessels that had drifted at the Rim for 40 years simply were not there anymore. They had all turned and gone home, quietly, in the same week, as if recalled. A few alien analysts noted it. A few wrote that it was strange. None of them guessed why, because the why was unthinkable. The why was that the soft ships were being replaced. There was a reason the survey ships had been recalled. The moment Cole's report cleared, two things had happened at once. The fleet had begun to gather, and the colonies along the survey lane had begun to empty. Every human world the Kareth might reach received the same quiet order in the same hour. Pack what you can carry. Leave the rest. Go now, and do not look back, because in a few weeks, this place is going to be a battlefield. The colonists went, whole towns lifting off into the dark in a steady stream of civilian transports, each one escorted by gray warships that had appeared out of nowhere and would vanish again the moment the work was done. It was the largest evacuation in human history, and the galaxy never saw it, because the galaxy was watching the Kareth gather their hunting packs and assumed the humans were simply fleeing in terror. The humans were not fleeing, they were clearing the board. Every world the Kareth would find empty was a world that could not be used as a hostage, a population that could not be hunted. Earth was removing everything the Kareth might reach for, ahead of the hunters, so that when the answer came, there would be nothing in the way of it but the hunters themselves. The Kareth pushed into the first human system on the survey lane 40 days after the execution. It was a small mining colony called Tarn's Hollow, 3,000 people, a single orbital refinery, no defenses worth the name. The hunters expected a hunt. They expected to chase soft ships through the dark and crack a refinery and sing about it. What they found was an empty system. The colonists were gone. The refinery was stripped and cold, and in the center of the system, holding position with the patience of a stone, was a single human warship. It was the Ashfall. The Kareth scout that found it sent back a confused report. One ship, it said. One human ship, large, gray, alone. The voice of the Hunt laughed. One ship come to die for the colony it had failed to save. How very human. They sent a hunting pack, 40 grown warships, to take it. They wanted it taken alive if possible, the captain especially, so the killing could be slow and the song could be long. Otis Ward watched the 40 ships come and did not move the Ashfall a single meter. He had chosen this himself. The plan from Earth had been precise, but it had left the captain's room to shape the lessons along the way, and Otis Ward had decided that the first lesson would be quiet and small and unmistakable. One ship, one hunting pack, no fleet, no spectacle, just a single human dreadnought holding its ground against 40 grown warships, so that the 7 survivors he intended to leave alive would carry home a story the Hunt Reach could not dismiss as cowardice. He wanted the first crack in the Kareth's certainty to come from a hunting pack's own mouth. Everything else would build on that crack. "They're hailing," Priya-san reported. "Hunt pack leader. He wants our surrender. He's offering, and I quote, a clean death for the crew, and a long one for the captain." "Open the channel," Otis said. "I'll speak to him myself." The channel opened. On the screen, the hunt pack leader filled the frame, all chitin and teeth and 4 cold eyes, and behind him, the bridge of his grown ship pulsed with red light. "Small thing," the hunt pack leader said. "You came to die with your colony. We will allow it. Lower your weapons and we will be quick with your crew. Resist, and we will be slow with all of you, and your captain we will keep for the singing." He leaned toward the screen. "Do you understand me, small thing?" "I understand you," Otis Ward said. "I want to make sure you understand me. 40 days ago your hunt lord killed a woman named Dana Holt under a flag of parley. He sent a witness home on purpose, so that we would know it was deliberate. He told that witness the Kareth claimed the right to kill any human, any time, at no cost." Otis folded his hands on the console. "I'm here to inform you that the cost has been calculated. It's being delivered now. You're the first installment." The hunt pack leader's eyes narrowed. "You threaten 40 ships with one." "No," Otis said. "I'm not threatening anything. I'm telling you what's already true." He looked, just for a moment, almost sorry. "You came with 40. You should have come with more. Not that it would have mattered. Helm, you have the firing solution." "All 40, sir," Priya said. "Locked." "Then ask them to leave," Otis said. "Once, properly. So it's on the record that we asked." Priya opened the broadband channel and spoke clearly. "Kareth Hunting Pack, this is the human warship Ashfall. You are ordered to withdraw from this system and stand down your hunt. This is your only warning. Withdraw now and live." The hunt pack leader's reply was a sound the translator did not bother to render. It was laughter, the surf roll laughter of the warrior caste. 200 throats across 40 ships finding the warning hilarious. They came on. They spread into the killing formation the Kareth had used for 1,000 years. The closing thorn, designed to surround a prey and take it apart from every side at once. "They declined," Priya said. "They did," Otis said. "Fire." The Ashfall woke up. For 40 years the galaxy had believed it knew what human weapons were. The galaxy had seen survey ships with mining lasers and weak-point defense, soft tools for soft work. The galaxy had built its entire opinion of humanity on those tools. The galaxy had never seen what a human warship did when it stopped pretending, because no human warship had ever once stopped pretending, until now. The Ashfall's main batteries opened along its full 6-kilometer length, and the dark between the ships lit up white. The first salvo was not aimed at one ship, it was aimed at all 40. The fire control of a human dreadnought tracked 40 closing targets and engaged them in the same half-second, and in that half-second, 11 of the 40 Kareth ships simply ceased to exist. Their grown hulls punched through and detonated from within, blooming into expanding shells of fire and chitin and frozen air. The hunters did not understand what was happening. They had hunted for 1,000 years, and in all that time the closing thorn had been the last thing their prey ever saw, a formation so total that nothing surrounded by it had ever escaped. The thorn was built on a simple truth, that no single ship can defend every direction at once, that a thing attacked from 40 sides must eventually break on one of them. The thorn had never once failed, because the truth it was built on had always been true. It was not true of the Ashfall. The human dreadnought did not have a weak side, because it did not have a side at all in the way the Kareth meant. Its weapons covered every angle at once, its fire control tracked every threat in the same instant, and against a thing like that, the closing thorn was not a death trap. It was a delivery system. It brought 40 ships into the exact range at which a human dreadnought killed most efficiently, and then it held them there, evenly spaced, perfectly presented, while the Ashfall worked through them like a reaper through a field. The Kareth had spent 1,000 years perfecting the single best way to bring themselves close enough to die. The hunt pack leader had time to register that 11 of his ships were gone. He did not have time to understand it. The second salvo took 9 more. The closing thorn, the formation that had never failed in 1,000 years, came apart in the time it takes to draw a breath, because the formation had been designed against enemies who could be surrounded, and you cannot surround a thing that kills you from every direction at once. 20 down, Priya reported, her voice flat and fast. They're breaking formation. 8 are trying to flee. 12 are charging. The 12 charging are committed, Otis said. Take them. The 8 fleeing get the same warning. The Ashfall's batteries swung, and the 12 charging ships died in a rolling wave, one after another, each one closing to point blank, and finding that point blank against a human dreadnought was simply a faster way to die. The hunt pack leader's own ship was among them, and the last thing the translator rendered from his channel before it cut to static was not laughter. It was a single word, in the oldest dialect of the warrior caste, a word the Kareth used only at the very end of a losing hunt. The word meant teeth. He had found them. The 8 fleeing ships ran for the jump line. Priya broadcast the warning again, the same words, withdraw now and live, and this time she meant it, because the order from Earth had been precise. Anyone who runs is allowed to run. Earth wanted survivors. Earth wanted the hunt reach to hear, from its own hunters' mouths, exactly what had happened in the empty system at Tarn's Hollow. 7 of the 8 fleeing ships made the jump and escaped into the dark, carrying the story home. The 8th turned around. Otis Ward watched it come back on the screen, one lone grown warship reversing its flight and burning straight at the Ashfall, and he understood it before Priya could ask. The Kareth were a hunting people. To some of them, fleeing was worse than dying. This one had decided it would rather end on its own terms, charging, than carry home the shame of running. There was something in that Otis almost respected. Last one's coming back, Priya said. Suicide run. He won't survive contact, and he knows it. I know, Otis said. He watched the lone ship close. Let him get his shot. Let it be on the record that he chose it. Then end it clean. No fire after he's dead. We're not animals. The lone Kareth ship closed to firing range and loosed everything it had, a full broadside of grown energy weapons, the same weapons that had cracked open 100 colonies. The fire splashed against the Ashfall's armor, and the dreadnought did not so much as shudder. 40 years of metallurgy, of armor schemes no alien had ever scanned, of a hull built by a species that had spent 4 decades learning exactly what it would take to survive this galaxy, absorbed the dying broadside of a Kareth warship the way a cliff absorbs a wave. No effect, Priya said, and there was something almost gentle in how she said it, as if she were sorry for the doomed ship. Sir. The lone ship fired again, and again, emptying every weapon it had grown over its long hunting life into the gray cliff of the Ashfall's flank. The fire was beautiful, in its way, a desperate flowering of energy against armor that had been designed, 19 years ago, by engineers who had imagined exactly this moment and asked themselves one question over and over until they got the answer right. The question had been simple. What would it take to make a human dreadnought unkillable by anything the galaxy could bring against it? The answer had taken 40 years and 2,000 hidden yards. The lone Kareth ship was now meeting that answer at point-blank range, and the answer was holding, the way it had been built to hold, the way every one of the 500,000 hulls would hold. End it, Otis said. One shot. The lone Kareth ship came apart, and then the system was empty again, except for the Ashfall and the slowly cooling wreckage of 33 grown warships drifting in the dark. The whole engagement, from first salvo to last, had taken under 4 minutes. The Ashfall had not lost a single crew member. It had not lost a single gun. It had not, in any way that the Kareth would ever be able to explain, been in danger at any point. Priya San looked at the readout for a long moment. 33 Kareth warships destroyed, 7 allowed to flee, 0 human casualties. Then she looked at her captain. Sir, she said quietly, that was a hunting pack. That was 40 ships of the warrior caste. And we are one dreadnought. Yes, Otis said. There are 500,000 of us coming. Yes, Otis said again. He stood and looked out the forward viewport at the drifting wreckage, the field of broken thorns that had thought, 4 minutes ago, that it was the predator. Priya, I want you to understand something, because you'll need to carry it. We didn't come here to win a battle. We won battles before we ever built these ships. We came here to teach a lesson. The Kareth taught one to us, under a parley flag, with a witness on purpose. His jaw tightened. So we're going to teach one back, the same way, deliberate, witnessed, unmistakable, and we are going to make absolutely certain that every single power watching this galaxy understands exactly what just happened, and exactly why, and exactly what it costs to kill one of ours. He turned from the viewport. Recover what's left of the colonists' refinery for the record, he said. Tag the wreckage, mark this system, and let the 7 runners go home and sing their new song. His gray eyes were very calm. Then take us to the rendezvous. The rest of the fleet is gathering. It's time the Kareth met the number. The ashfall turned and burned for the dark, leaving behind a system full of broken hunters and one message, written in wreckage, for anyone who came to read it. The 7 fleeing Kareth ships made the long jump home to the hunt reach, and when they arrived, they did not sing. They could not sing. They told the voice of the hunt what they had seen. One human ship, one, that had killed 33 of 40 in under 4 minutes and taken no harm at all, and the voice of the hunt did not believe them. It could not believe them. To believe them was to admit that the count had been wrong, that the soft survey ships had never been the truth of humanity, that something had been hiding in the dark of the rim for 40 years, growing, waiting, and that the Hunt Lord had reached into that dark and pulled the teeth out into the light with his own hands when he brought down the blade on Dana Holt. So the voice of the hunt called the 7 captains cowards and stripped them of their hunt names and declared that they had fled a single ship out of weakness and invented a monster to hide their shame. And the voice of the hunt gathered a real fleet, a war fleet, 400 grown ships, the gathered strength of the central hunt reach, and sent it to the survey lane to find this single human warship and take it apart so thoroughly that no further lies could grow from it. 400 ships. The Kareth thought 400 ships was an answer to the thing they had seen. They had not yet understood the question. Far out in the dark, at a point Earth had marked on no chart, the human fleet was gathering, and it was not 400 ships, and it was not one. Otis Ward brought the ashfall in toward the rendezvous, and he saw, spreading across the void ahead of him, ship after ship after ship, gray hulls catching the light of a distant star, formations stacking into formations, a wall of human steel so wide and so deep that even Otis Ward, who had known the number his whole life, felt his breath catch in his chest. This was not the answer to one execution. This was the answer to the idea that the execution could be free, and it was only the leading edge. The number was still arriving. The Kareth Warfleet found the survey lane swept clean, and the human warship gone, and the huntmaster who led it took that as fear. His name, in the warrior caste, meant tooth that does not break, and he commanded 400 grown ships from the bridge of a vessel the size of a small moon, the Hollow Crown, oldest and largest of the central hunt reach. He had hunted for 200 years. He had cracked colonies on 9 worlds. He had heard the coward story of one ship that killed 33, and he had laughed at it, because Tooth That Does Not Break knew that there was no such ship, that the soft humans had no such ship, that the count of humanity had been taken long ago, and the count was small. He swept the survey lane. He found 3 more human colonies, all empty, all evacuated, all stripped to cold metal, and the emptiness pleased him, because empty meant the humans were running, and running prey was the sweetest hunt of all. He pushed deeper. He sang. He sent word back to the hunt reach that the lie of the single ship was being chased to ground, that the humans were fleeing before him, that the season of taking would be long and good. He did not consider that empty colonies meant something else. He did not consider that a species evacuates its people when it knows, in advance, that a place is about to become a battlefield. He did not consider that the humans were not running. They were clearing the board. Cole Ferris saw the board from the bridge of the ashfall. They had brought him along because he was the witness, because the order from Earth had said the witness would speak the lesson when the time came, and Cole had not understood that until he stood on the bridge and looked at the tactical display and saw what was gathering. Iris Vance stood beside him. Otis Ward stood at the center, and on the great curved display, in cold blue light, the human fleet assembled. Cole had thought the 300 ships at Halsey's Reach were a lot. He had thought the wall of steel at the rendezvous was the whole of it. He had been wrong both times. The display kept scrolling, and the count kept climbing, and the formations kept stacking, and Cole watched the number tick upward past 50,000, past 100,000, past 200,000, and he stopped being able to feel it as a number at all. It became something else. It became weather. It became a tide. How many, he asked, and his voice came out small. All of them, Iris Vance said. Tidewall. Every hull we built in 40 years. We seeded them across 2,000 systems, so no one could ever find them all in one place. Now they're all coming to one place. She watched the display. 500,000 dreadnoughts, Mr. Ferris. The largest fleet in the recorded history of this galaxy. And the galaxy never saw a single one of them, until the Kareth gave us a reason to show all of them at once. Cole could not speak. He looked at the tactical display, at the impossible blue tide, and he thought of the Hunt Lord saying, "You are not a war, you are a meal," and he thought of the blade coming down on Dana Holt under the soft blue parley flag, and he understood at last what he had carried home. He had not carried a warning. He had carried a fuse. Cole looked at the blue tide and thought that he understood, finally, what the Hunt Lord had reached into when he brought the blade down. 40 years of a species preparing, with terrible patience, for a single day, and praying the whole time it never came. The Hunt Lord had made it come. He had reached into the deepest dark of the rim, certain it was empty, and he had pulled. They sent 400 ships, Otis Ward said, watching the Kareth warfleet on the far edge of the display. Tooth that does not break. 200 years a hunter. He thinks he's chasing one frightened ship. He almost smiled. We're going to let him keep thinking that, right up until he can't. Cole looked at the 400 ships, and then at the 500,000, and a question rose in him that he had to ask, even knowing it might sound foolish. "Why so many?" he said. "You proved it at Tarn's Hollow. One ship beat 40 in 4 minutes. You said it yourself. You could have beaten the whole warfleet with one dreadnought. So why bring 500,000? Why all of them? For 400 ships you don't even need them for." Otis Ward turned from the display and looked at him, and his face was serious now, the almost smile gone. "Because this was never about beating them, Mr. Ferris," he said. "If it were about beating them, one ship is plenty. This is about something bigger than a fight, and it needs an answer bigger than a fight." He gestured at the blue tide. "They didn't just kill Dana Holt. They declared that killing us is free, on the record, with a witness, so the whole galaxy would hear it. And you cannot answer a galaxy-sized declaration with one ship. You answer it with all of them, all at once, in a way that every power watching will see and never forget." His voice was quiet and absolute. "They wanted the galaxy to learn that human life is cheap. We're going to make it learn, in the most permanent way there is, exactly how expensive it is. That's the whole point of all of them." Cole was silent. He understood now. The number was not a weapon. The number was a message. Too large to ignore. Too large to misremember. Too large for any power in the galaxy to ever pretend it had not seen. The plan was Otis Ward's, and it was cruel in its precision, and Cole understood as it unfolded that the cruelty was the point. The Kareth had killed one human deliberately, in the open, with a witness, to make a lesson, so Earth would answer in kind. Deliberately, in the open, with witnesses, a lesson the entire galaxy would be made to watch. The ashfall let itself be found. It went out alone because it had to be alone. The whole plan rested on the Kareth seeing one ship, the single ship of the coward's story, the lone monster they had refused to believe in. If Tooth That Does Not Break caught even a hint of a second hull, Even a flicker on the edge of his scopes, the trap would never close. So the 500,000 dreadnoughts pulled back to the very edge of jump range, beyond any Kareth sensor, holding in a vast silent sphere around an empty-looking system, and the ashfall went into the survey lane alone, one gray ship, bayed on a hook the size of a galaxy. Cole stood at the back of the bridge and watched Otis Ward do something he had never imagined a warship captain doing. He watched him pretend to be weak. The ashfall slowed when it should have run. It broadcast just enough damaged systems chatter to sound like a ship at the end of its rope, a ship that had been hunted across the dark and was finally faltering. It was a performance, a lie told in the language of engines and sensor returns, and Otis Ward told it perfectly, because he understood the one thing the Kareth could not resist. "A predator can't help chasing a thing that runs," Otis said, watching the Kareth scout returns light up his board, as Tooth That Does Not Break took the scent. "It's not a decision for them. It's older than decisions. We're not tricking him, Mr. Ferris. We're just letting him be exactly what he is. The whole trap is built out of the Kareth's own nature. All we did was hold up a mirror and put a fleeing ship in front of it." Otis Ward took his single dreadnought back into the survey lane, alone, in plain sight, and let the Kareth scouts catch the scent. He let them report it. He let Tooth That Does Not Break believe that the lone human ship, the one from the coward story, had been cornered at last. And then the ashfall ran, slowly, just slowly enough to be chased, deeper into the dark, toward a dead red star where Earth had marked the board. Tooth That Does Not Break took the bait the way a predator always takes a fleeing thing. He brought his entire war fleet, 400 grown ships, into the system of the dead red star, the closing thorn already spreading wide, 200 years of hunting instinct, certain that the prey was about to be taken. He had the ashfall on his scopes, one ship, gray and alone, slowing now as if its nerve had finally broken. "He's committed," Priya San reported. "All 400, full fleet, they're in the system." "Good," Otis Ward said. "Stop running. Let him see us turn and face him. Give him that. Let him think we've decided to die well." He looked at Cole. "Mr. Ferris, in a moment I'm going to open a channel to the Kareth Huntmaster. When I do, you're going to speak. Not me. You. You're the witness. You saw the blade come down. You carried the lesson home. Now you're going to deliver the answer. Can you do that?" Cole Ferris looked at the tactical display, at the 400 grown ships closing in, and at the dark beyond them where 500,000 human dreadnoughts waited at the edge of jump range, silent, unseen, holding. "What do I say?" Cole asked. "You tell him the truth," Otis said, plainly. "The way you tell the truth. He killed one of ours and called it free. We're here to set the price." He nodded to the comm station. "Open it." The channel opened, and on the great display the bridge of the hollow crown appeared, vast and red-lit, and at its center, Tooth That Does Not Break, 200 years a hunter, ancient and scarred and absolutely certain. "Small thing," the Huntmaster said, and his voice rolled out of the speakers. "You turn to face me. Good. The cowards said you were a monster. I see only a single ship and a single frightened crew. Lower your weapons, and I will let the killing be quick. Resist, and I will make of your ship a song that lasts a generation." His 4 eyes glittered. "Speak. Beg. I will allow it." Cole stepped forward to the comms pickup. His hands were steady now. He did not know when they had stopped shaking. He thought of Dana Holt's open hand, open at nothing, on the black stone floor. "My name is Cole Ferris," he said, and his voice was clear and even and carried. "I am a translator. 40 days ago, I stood in the hall of your Hunt Lord, and I watched him kill an unarmed woman named Dana Holt under a flag of parley. He let me live on purpose. He told me to carry the lesson home. He said the Kareth claim the right to kill any human, anytime, at no cost." Cole let the words land. "I carried the lesson home, every word of it, and my people understood it completely." "Then your people sent one ship to die," the Huntmaster said. "I am unimpressed." "You sent 400, Cole said. You think 400 is an answer to one ship. You don't understand the question yet, so I'm going to explain it to you, the way you explained your lesson to me, plainly, with a witness, so there can be no mistake." He drew a breath. "When you kill one of us, this is what it costs. Not one ship, not 40, not 400. This." He looked at Otis Ward. Otis Ward nodded. "Tidewall," Otis said into the fleet channel. "Show him." And the dark around the dead red star woke up. It did not happen the way a battle begins. There were no opening shots, no probing skirmishes, no slow buildup of force. It happened the way a dawn happens, all at once, everywhere, a thing that was simply not there, and then simply was. One instant the system held 400 grown Kareth warships and a single gray human ship near a dead red star. The next instant, the entire volume of space around them, in every direction, to the very edge of the system and beyond, was full. 500,000 human dreadnoughts dropped out of jump at the edge of the system in a single coordinated wave, and the night turned to steel. They came in not as a fleet but as a sky, layer upon layer upon layer of gray hulls, 6 kilometers each, spreading across the void in numbers that broke the Kareth sensors trying to count them. The display on the hollow crown, which had shown one human ship, now tried to render the truth and simply could not, the count climbing so fast and so far that the grown systems of the great ship locked and stuttered and gave up. On the bridge of the hollow crown, the certainty of 200 years died in a single instant. Tooth that does not break stared at the dark filling with steel, at the impossible tide rising on every side. 400 grown ships, suddenly a speck inside a sphere of 500,000 human dreadnoughts, and for the first time in 2 centuries, the Huntmaster made a sound the translator had never rendered from a Kareth before. It rendered it now. It was the sound of a predator that has at last understood it is prey. Across 400 grown ships, the same understanding rolled through the warrior caste like a cold wind. They had come to take one ship. They had spread the closing thorn, the formation that had never failed in 1,000 years, certain of an easy hunt. And now the thorn was a speck inside a sphere they could not see the edges of, and every instinct the Kareth had spent 1,000 generations sharpening, the instinct to surround, to close, to take, was screaming a thing those instincts had never once had to say. There was nothing to surround. They were the ones surrounded. The closing thorn had closed on empty space, and the empty space had closed on them. "You see it now," Cole Ferris said quietly. "You counted the soft ships, and you thought the soft ships were all there was. You never asked why a young species would send unarmed captains so far from home, with such confidence. You never asked what we were doing for 40 years while you laughed at us." He let the silence stretch. "We were building this, and we hid it, all of it, for one reason, so that the day you decided killing us was free, we could show you, all at once, exactly how wrong you were." The Huntmaster found his voice. 400 ships, he said, and the certainty was gone from it now, replaced by something that in any species would have been called fear. You would spend 500,000 ships to destroy 400? It is waste. It is madness. "No," Cole said. "It's a message. You sent a witness home, so we'd know your cruelty was deliberate. We're sending witnesses home, so you'll know our answer is too. 7 of your ships are going to be allowed to leave this system. They're going to carry the truth back to the Hunt Reach. And the truth is this." He looked at the tide of steel filling the display, and his voice did not rise, and that was the most terrible thing about it. "You executed one human, so Earth answered with 500,000 dreadnoughts, not because we needed them to beat you. We could have beaten you with one. We brought all of them so that you, and every power watching this galaxy, would never again be able to pretend you didn't see exactly what it costs." Otis Ward stepped forward beside him. "Huntmaster," he said, "I'm Captain Otis Ward, of the human warship Ashfall. I'm now going to give your fleet the same warning you never gave Dana Holt. Withdraw. Now. 7 of your ships may leave to carry the story home. The rest of you have a choice. Stand down and we take you prisoner, alive, under our flag of truce, which we honor even now, even with you, because we are not what you are. Or fight and end here." His voice was iron. "You have 60 seconds. I suggest you spend them wisely. It's more time than you gave us to bury our dead." The channel filled with the sound of 200 years of certainty trying to find a way out of a sphere of 500,000 dreadnoughts, and finding none. Cole Ferris watched the Huntmaster's face on the great display, and he thought, against everything, that he understood a little of what was happening behind those four cold eyes. He had carried a lesson once. He had stood in a hall of stone and been handed a truth he did not want, and had been forced to carry it home, word by word, until it became part of him. He knew what it was to receive a lesson you would have given anything to refuse. He was watching Tooth That Does Not Break receive one now. The old hunter had spent 200 years certain of the shape of the galaxy, certain of who hunted and who was hunted, certain of the count of humanity, and in the space of a single instant, every certainty had been taken from him and replaced with a sky full of steel. It was the most complete lesson Cole had ever seen delivered. It was being delivered without a shot. That was the part the Kareth would never have understood before today. The fleet had not fired. The fleet did not need to fire. The arriving was the argument. 500,000 dreadnoughts had crossed the dark to a dead red star and had not yet pulled a single trigger, and already the war was decided. The shooting, if it came, would only be punctuation. And the 60 seconds began to run. Tooth That Does Not Break spent 40 of his 60 seconds in silence, and Cole Ferris understood that he was watching a mind 200 years old break apart. The Huntmaster had never lost. He had never been cornered. He had never, in all his long life of taking, been the thing that was taken. Every instinct in the warrior caste screamed at him to charge, because to a Kareth, fleeing was a death worse than dying. But charging into a sphere of 500,000 dreadnoughts was not a hunt. It was not even a battle. It was simply ending, and Tooth That Does Not Break, who had hunted for 2 centuries precisely because he loved being alive and being the strongest thing alive, did not want to end. "You offer prisoners taken under truce," the Huntmaster said at last, and his voice had changed. The rolling certainty was gone. "You honor a truce, with us, after what was done to your captain." "Yes," Otis Ward said. "Why?" It was Cole who answered. "Because that's the difference between us," he said. "Your hunt lord killed a woman who came under a parley flag because he could, because he thought there'd be no cost. We're standing here with 500,000 ships, and we're still going to honor a flag of truce with the people who did it, because the truce is the thing that makes us not you." He paused. "You taught the galaxy that a human under a flag of peace can be killed for free. We're about to teach it the opposite. Surrender, and you live, and you carry that home too. That's a harder lesson than dying. I think you know it." The seconds ran. On the Kareth ships, some captains had already begun to power down their weapons, because the warrior caste followed strength, and there was no strength in the universe that day greater than the thing that had filled the dark around them. Others held, charging their grown guns, choosing the hunt's death over the shame of the open hand. The fleet of 400 began to split down the middle of its own soul. 40 seconds gone, Priyasan reported quietly. "Sir, about a third of them are powering down. The rest are charging weapons." "Then we let the ones who chose surrender." "Surrender," Otis said. "And we honor it. Mark them. No fire on any ship that powers down its guns. None. I want that absolute." He looked at the display. "The ones who charge are choosing the other thing. We'll respect that too. But we end it the moment the time runs out, not before. They get every second we promised them." The last 20 seconds ran out in a silence so heavy that Cole could hear the hum of the Ashfall's own systems. He watched the tactical display, where each Kareth ship glowed a soft amber, and he watched the amber lights begin to change. Some went blue, the color the human fleet had assigned to a ship that had powered down its guns. Some stayed amber, weapons charging, choosing to fight. The whole display became a slow, terrible vote, 400 ships of the warrior caste deciding, one by one, in the last seconds of their lives, what kind of creatures they wanted to be. Cole found he could not breathe while it happened. He had not expected this. He had expected the Kareth to fight to the last, all of them, because that was what the song said the warrior caste did. He had not expected the lights to turn blue. He had not expected so many of them to choose to live. On the display, the count settled. 141 Kareth ships had powered down their weapons and broadcast the warrior caste's oldest gesture of submission, a thing they had not offered another species in 900 years. 252 had charged their guns and held formation, choosing the hunt's ending. 7, as promised, had been marked to leave. "Time," Priya said. Otis Ward looked at the 252 ships that had chosen to fight. He did not gloat. There was no triumph in his face at all, only a kind of grim finality, the look of a man doing a thing that had to be done and taking no joy in it. "To the ones who surrendered," he said into the broadband, "you are now under the protection of the human fleet, under our flag of truce, which we will honor with our lives. You'll be taken home. You have my word." He let that land across every channel. "To the ones who chose the other path, we gave you the warning Dana Holt was never given. We gave you the seconds you never gave her. You chose this. Tidewall, engage the ships still under arms. The surrendered are protected. Begin." 500,000 dreadnoughts opened fire. What happened to the 252 Kareth ships that had chosen to fight was not a battle. Cole Ferris would spend the rest of his life trying to find the right word for it, because he was a translator, and finding the right word was the only way he knew to carry a thing, and he never found it. The closest he ever came was this. It was like watching the tide take a line of sandcastles. The Kareth ships were grown war vessels, ancient and terrible, ships that had cracked colonies and ended species, and against the focused fire of the human fleet, they lasted, on average, less than a second each. The dark around the dead red star turned white, then it turned whiter. The human fleet did not waste a shot, did not spread its fire, did not give the doomed ships a single opening to do harm. The fire control of 500,000 dreadnoughts coordinated across the whole sphere, and each Kareth ship that had chosen to fight was engaged by precisely as many guns as it took to end it, and not one gun more, so that the rest of the fleet could hold its fire over the surrendered ships and keep them safe inside a bubble of absolute protection while the void around them burned. It was over in less than a minute. Cole Ferris watched it from the back of the bridge, and he did not look away. He watched the precision of it, the terrible care, the way the fleet engaged exactly the ships that had chosen to fight, and held its fire over the ships that had not. A 500,000 ship machine making a moral distinction in real time, in the middle of a firestorm, without a single error. It was easy to destroy everything. Anyone with enough guns could destroy everything. What the human fleet did in that minute, destroying only what had earned it, and protecting everything that had not, even the ships of the people who had killed Dana Holt, required a discipline that the Kareth, in 900 years of hunting, had never once imagined was possible. That, Cole thought, was the real weapon, not the guns, the restraint behind them. When the white light faded, the system held 500,000 human dreadnoughts, 141 surrendered Kareth ships, floating dark and unharmed inside a protective ring, 7 marked ships already burning for the jump line, and nothing else. The 252 that had chosen to fight were gone, every one, and not a single human ship had taken meaningful harm, because at no point in the engagement had the Kareth been permitted to fight back in any way that mattered. They had been given a warning, given seconds, given a true choice, and then, for the ones who chose wrong, simply ended. On the bridge of the Hollow Crown, Tooth That Does Not Break had powered down his guns at the 58th second. He had chosen, 200 years a hunter, to be taken alive. Cole watched the great moon-sized ship go dark on the display, its weapons cold, its hull broadcasting submission, and he understood what it had cost the old huntmaster to do it, understood that for a Kareth, this was harder than dying, and he found that he could not hate the creature for it, even after everything. The huntmaster had looked at the impossible tide, and chosen, against every instinct of his species, to live and carry the truth home. There was a kind of courage in that no song would ever celebrate. The 141 surrendered ships floated in their protective ring, weapons cold, and the human fleet around them did not so much as point a gun in their direction. They had powered down their weapons, fully expecting to be destroyed anyway, because that was what the warrior caste did to a surrendered enemy, took the surrender and then killed them. Every Kareth instinct told them that to lower their guns before a stronger enemy was simply to choose a slower death. And then the slower death did not come. The human fleet held its fire over them, completely, even while it destroyed the ships that had chosen to fight, never once letting a single stray shot fall on a ship that had surrendered. They had surrendered expecting nothing, and had been given everything, their lives, their crews, their ships, untouched, protected, by the same fleet that was at that very moment erasing the ones who had chosen the hunt's ending. Some of them, the oldest hunters among them, would later say that this was the moment they understood the humans were not a stronger version of the Kareth, but a different kind of thing entirely, a thing that held overwhelming power and chose, deliberately, exactly where to let it fall and where to hold it back. "The Hollow Crown has surrendered," Priyasan reported. "Huntmaster Tooth that does not break. Request to speak with the human commander." Otis Ward glanced at Cole. "He killed 9 worlds," he said quietly. "You don't have to." "I'll speak to him," Cole said. The channel opened. The vast red bridge of the Hollow Crown filled the display, and at its center, the old Huntmaster sat with his guns cold and his head, Cole realized, very slightly bowed, in a gesture the translator labeled as the deepest submission the warrior caste possessed. "Small thing," Tooth that does not break said, and there was no mockery in it now. "Cole Ferris, you spoke truly. The count was wrong. The count was always wrong. We measured your kind by what we could see, and you let us. For 40 years you let us believe you were a meal." His 4 eyes settled on Cole. "Why? Why hide this? With 500,000 ships you could have ruled the galaxy. You could have made every power kneel. Why crawl in soft ships and bow and offer open hands when you held this?" "Because we didn't want to rule anything," Cole said. "We wanted to be left alone to grow. We hoped the open hand would be enough. We genuinely hoped it, right up until your Hunt Lord brought the blade down on Dana Holt." His voice was steady. "We built this fleet for exactly one purpose, Huntmaster. Not conquest, not empire, just this. The day someone decided that killing a human was free, we would show the whole galaxy, all at once, that it isn't. That's all this was. A price tag. 500,000 ships, so that no one could ever again pretend they didn't see the cost." The Huntmaster was silent for a long moment. "In 200 years, he said at last, I have taken 9 worlds. I have never once been offered a truce by a thing that held my life in its hand. Strength does not offer truces, small thing. Strength takes. That is the only law I have ever known." His 4 eyes searched Cole's face, as if looking for the trick in it. "And yet here you stand, every Kareth world helpless beneath you, and you speak to me of a flag you will honor even now. It is not weakness. It is not mercy. What is this thing your people do?" "I don't have a word for it in your language," Cole said honestly. "The closest I can get is this. We're not strong because we take. We're strong because we choose what to do with the taking. And most of the time we choose not to. The strength was never the point. The point was always what we do with it. The strength is just the volume. What we do with it is the message. The Hunt Lord who killed your captain," the old hunter said slowly, "he still rules the Hunt Reach. He sent us to chase your single ship. He believes, even now, that the cowards lied." Tooth that does not break lifted his great head. "He will not believe the survivors. He did not believe me. He will call us cowards too, and gather a greater fleet, and come again, because he cannot conceive of a thing greater than himself." The old hunter's voice was bitter. "He is why this happened. He is why 9 of my centuries of hunting end here, in surrender, before a child who speaks softly. If you wish to end this, small thing, it is not my surrender you need. It is his." Otis Ward stepped forward. "We know," he said. "The Hunt Lord is the one who decided it was free. He's the one who has to learn what it costs. Personally. His gray eyes were cold. "Huntmaster, you've surrendered, and we'll honor it, and you'll live. But I'm going to ask you for something, and you can refuse, and we'll still honor the truce either way. I want you to take us to him, to the Bone Throne, to the seat of the Hunt Reach, not to destroy your homeworlds, not to hunt your young, not to do to you what you did to us, only to find the one who brought the blade down, and to make absolutely certain that he, and everyone watching, understands the lesson he started." He paused. "Will you take us to the Hunt Lord?" Tooth That Does Not Break looked at the human captain, and at the soft-spoken translator beside him, and at the 500,000 dreadnoughts filling the dark, and something moved across his ancient scarred face that the translator could not name. "You could find him without me," the Huntmaster said. "We could," Otis agreed, "but it matters who points the way. It matters to the galaxy that Akareth showed us the Hunt Lord's door. It matters that the warrior caste itself decided he was the one who had to answer for this. Not you, not your young, not your worlds. Only him." He leaned toward the pickup. "You said he's why this happened. Then help us make sure it ends with him, and not with your whole people. That's a choice too, Huntmaster. Maybe the most important one you've ever made." The old hunter was quiet for a long, long moment. Then he straightened, and for the first time the bow left his neck, and something that was not submission and was not defiance but was perhaps, Cole thought, simply honesty, settled into his bearing. The Hunt Lord brought the blade down on a guest under a flag of peace, Tooth That Does Not Break said. He shamed the hunt. A true hunter does not kill what kneels and offers its hand. He broke the oldest law of the Reach to make a song about his own strength, and his song has cost us 400 ships, and the respect of the galaxy, and the lives of every hunter who followed him into this dark. The old Huntmaster's 4 eyes burned. "I have hunted for 200 years, small thing. I know the difference between a hunter and a butcher. The Hunt Lord is a butcher wearing a hunter's name." He bowed his head once, sharply, in decision. "I will take you to him. I will point the way to his door with my own hand. And when the galaxy asks who showed the humans the way to the Bone Throne, let it be known that it was Tooth That Does Not Break, who chose to end a butcher rather than die for him." Otis Ward nodded slowly. "Then set your course, Huntmaster," he said. "We'll follow. Your 140 surrendered ships travel under our protection, weapons cold, untouched. You have my word, and my word holds even against the people who killed Dana Holt. Especially against them." He turned to his crew. "Tidewall, we're moving. All of us. To the Hunt Reach, to the Bone Throne." He looked at Cole. "Mr. Ferris, you carried the lesson out. You're going to carry the answer all the way back to where it started." Cole Ferris looked at the tactical display, at 500,000 human dreadnoughts turning as one toward the heart of the Hunt Reach, at the great surrendered ship of the old Huntmaster taking the lead, and he thought of the soft blue parley flag, and the open hand, and the blade. "I'll carry it," he said, all the way to his door. And the largest fleet in the history of the galaxy turned toward the Bone Throne, with Akareth Huntmaster pointing the way to the one who had started it all. The Hunt Lord was still singing when the dark above his homeworld turned to steel. In the great hall of the Bone Throne, on the thorn world that the Kareth called the seat of all hunting, the Hunt Lord, who had brought the blade down on Dana Holt, was holding a season feast for the warrior caste. The coward story of the single human ship had been dismissed. The strange silence from Tooth That Does Not Break's war fleet had been blamed on the long jump and the silence of the deep dark. The Hunt Lord had decided that all of it was fear, that the humans were fleeing, that the season of taking would soon resume. He sang of it. 2,000 hunters sang with him. The hall shook with the surf roll of their certainty. Then the sky went dark, and then the sky went gray, and then the watch hunters on the high towers of the Thorn World began to scream warnings that no one in the singing hall could believe. The journey to the Hunt Reach had taken 9 days, and Cole Ferris had spent most of them watching the strangest sight of the entire war, which was Akareth Huntmaster leading a human fleet to the door of his own ruler. The Hollow Crown ran at the head of the formation, its weapons cold, its great-grown hull untouched, and behind it came 500,000 human dreadnoughts, and 140 surrendered Kareth ships traveling under human protection. It looked like an alliance. It was not an alliance. It was something stranger, the moment when even a hunter chooses to point away from his own kind toward the one who has shamed them. Tooth that does not break had pointed. The whole fleet followed the point. Cole Ferris watched the homeworld of the Kareth grow on the forward display of the Ashfall, and around it, filling the orbit from horizon to horizon, 500,000 human dreadnoughts settling into position like a closing hand. The Thorn world had defenses, grown gun platforms and orbital fortresses that had held off 3 alien powers across 9 centuries. The human fleet did not fire on them. It did not need to. It simply arrived, all of it, everywhere, and let the Kareth look up and understand. The orbital fortresses of the Thorn world were the pride of the Hunt Reach. 9 centuries of grown defenses that had broken every fleet ever sent against them. They tracked the human ships. They charged their weapons. And then, one by one, their commanders looked at the true scale of what had arrived in their sky. 500,000 hulls where there should have been none. A fleet larger than every navy the galaxy had ever fielded combined. And they did the arithmetic that the Hunt Lord had refused to do, and they powered down. There was no shame in it. There was no choice in it. A wall that can hold off 3 fleets is still only a wall, and the thing in the sky was not a fleet. It was an ocean. The Hollow Crown is broadcasting on all Kareth channels, Priya-san reported. Hunt Master Tooth that does not break. He's telling them everything. The war fleet, the surrender, the price. She looked up. Sir, he's naming the Hunt Lord, by name. He's telling the whole Hunt Reach that the Hunt Lord broke the oldest law and brought this down on them. Let him speak, Otis Ward said. Every word. The galaxy needs to hear a Kareth say it. On the surface, in the Great Hall, the Hunt Lord stopped singing. The broadcast reached him, the voice of Tooth that does not break, the oldest and most respected Hunt Master of the Central Reach, telling the entire warrior caste that the human ship had been real, that the count had been wrong, that 400 ships had charged a sphere of 500,000, and that the old hunter had surrendered to live and carry the truth home. The Hunt Lord listened, and his 4 eyes turned slowly toward the high windows of the hall, toward the sky that should have been black and was now full of gray steel, and for the first time in his life, he felt the cold thing he had taught so many others to feel. He felt small. The human channel opened across the whole Thorn world, into every hall and tower and grown vein of the Bone Throne, and it was not Otis Ward who spoke first. It was Cole Ferris. My name is Cole Ferris, he said, and his voice carried into the great hall where the blade had come down 43 days before. I am a translator. I stood in this hall and I watched your Hunt Lord kill an unarmed woman named Dana Holt under a flag of parley. He let me live on purpose. He told me to carry the lesson home. Cole's voice was very steady. I carried it home, and this is what my people sent back. He let the silence fill with the weight of 500,000 ships. Hunt Lord, Cole said, I know you can hear me. 43 days ago you told me the Kareth claimed the right to kill any human, any time, at no cost. You said we were not a war. You said we were a meal that hadn't noticed the teeth. His voice did not rise. Look up. Look at your sky. That's the cost. 500,000 dreadnoughts, built in secret over 40 years, hidden across 2,000 systems, brought to your door for one reason, so that you, personally, would learn what you decided was free. In the Great Hall, the Hunt Lord rose to his full height, 3 times the height of a man, and he found his voice, and even now there was defiance in it, because he was what he was. Then destroy us, the Hunt Lord roared, and the channel carried it to the fleet. Destroy the Thorn world. Burn the Reach. Do to us what you came to do, human, and be done. We do not kneel. We are the Kareth. We hunt until we are ended. No, Cole said. The single word stopped the hall. That's what you don't understand, Cole went on. That's what your kind never understood about ours. We didn't come to burn your world. We didn't come to hunt your young or crack your colonies or do to you what you did to 9 other worlds. We could. 500,000 ships could end the Kareth in an afternoon, and no power in this galaxy could stop us, and you know it, and that's the point." His voice was iron and grief at once. "We came for one thing. We came for you, the one who brought the blade down. Not your people, not your worlds, you, because you decided it was free, and the price has to land on the one who said it." Otis Ward's voice joined his, cold and clear across the whole Thorn world. "Hunt Lord, this is Captain Otis Ward of the human fleet. Here are the terms, and they are not negotiable, and they are witnessed by your own people and by every power in this galaxy who is watching, and they are watching, all of them. The Careth will cede the survey lane and every world that touches it, in perpetuity. The Careth will end all hunting of human worlds, forever, and the one who broke the oldest law of your own reach, who killed a guest under a flag of peace, will answer to a court, under our law and yours both, in the open, for the murder of Dana Holt." His voice hardened. "That's the price. Not your people's blood. Yours. You taught the galaxy that a human under a flag of peace can be killed for free. We're going to teach it that the one who does it answers for it personally, in front of everyone, no matter how strong he thinks he is. Accept, and your world lives untouched. Refuse, and the only thing that changes is that we come down and take you ourselves." The great hall of the Bone Throne was silent, and then, slowly, the warrior caste turned. 2,000 hunters, who had sung the song of the small, soft thing that lost its hand, turned and looked at the Hunt Lord who had brought the steel sky down upon them. The broadcast of "Tooth That Does Not Break" still hung in the air, the words of the oldest huntmaster. "The Hunt Lord is a butcher wearing a hunter's name. He broke the oldest law to make a song about his own strength." And the warrior caste, which followed strength above all things, looked at the 500,000 ships in their sky, and understood at last where the true strength lay, and it was not with the creature who had brought the blade down on a kneeling guest. It was Tooth That Does Not Break who landed. The old huntmaster brought a single shuttle down from the surrendered hollow crown, alone, under the human flag of truce, and he walked into the great hall of the Bone Throne on his own 4 legs, 200 years old and unafraid, and he faced the Hunt Lord before the assembled warrior caste. "You shamed the hunt," the old hunter said, "and the channel carried it to the fleet and the galaxy. You killed a guest who knelt and offered her hand. You broke the law that makes us hunters and not butchers, and you made a song of it, and your song has cost us 400 ships, and the lives of every hunter who followed you, and the respect of every power that watches us now." Tooth That Does Not Break drew himself up. "The humans came with 500,000 ships and did not burn a single one of our worlds. They came for you alone. They honor a truce even with us, even after what you did. And you, who call yourself the strongest of the Reach, would have us all die to spare you a court." His voice was thunder. "No, the warrior caste will not die for a butcher. You will answer, Hunt Lord. You will answer for the woman whose hand you took. And I, Tooth That Does Not Break, who has hunted for 200 years, will be the one who hands you over, so that the galaxy knows the Careth themselves chose honor over you." The Hunt Lord looked around the great hall, at 2,000 hunters who would not meet his eyes, at the old huntmaster who had come alone to face him, at the sky full of steel that he had pulled down with his own blade, and at last, slowly, the defiance went out of him, because there was nowhere left for it to go. He did not kneel. The Careth did not kneel. But he set down his blade, the same blade that had come down on Dana Holt, and he let the warriors of his own caste take it from him, and that was an ending more complete than kneeling. They handed him over at the foot of the Bone Throne, under the open sky, in front of the assembled warrior caste and 500,000 human dreadnoughts, and every power in the galaxy that was watching, and all of them were watching. Cole Ferris came down in a shuttle to receive him, because Otis Ward had said it should be the witness, the one who saw the blade come down, who saw it set down. Cole walked across the black stone floor of the great hall, the same floor where Dana Holt had lain with her open hand, open at nothing, and he stood before the Hunt Lord, who was 3 times his height, and now had no blade, and no song, and no sky of his own. "You let me live," Cole said quietly, "so I'd carry fear home. You wanted my people to be afraid of you." He looked up at the great creature. "We weren't afraid. We were just sad. And then we were done being sad. That's all this was. The end of being sad about it." He stepped back. "You'll answer for Dana Holt in the open, under both our laws, in front of everyone. You wanted a witness. You're going to get a galaxy of them." They took the Hunt Lord, and the human fleet, 500,000 dreadnoughts that had not fired a single shot at the Thorn World, that had not burned a single Kareth home, began, slowly, to withdraw, because the lesson was delivered, and the price was set, and there was no more reason to stay. The taking of the Hunt Lord was not loud. Cole had half expected it to be, had half expected the warrior caste to fight for their ruler at the last, 2,000 hunters in the Great Hall turning on the humans who had come for him. They did not. They stood aside. When the human guards came down to receive the Hunt Lord, the hunters of the Bone Throne made a path, a wide and silent corridor through the Great Hall, and they struck their chests once, not for the Hunt Lord, but for Tooth That Does Not Break, the old hunter who had chosen honor over a butcher, the one who had pointed the way. It was the warrior caste's way of saying that the choice had been right. The Hunt Lord walked that corridor alone, between two rows of his own people who would not look at him, and Cole understood that this was a worse punishment than any the humans could have devised. The Kareth had judged him before the humans ever touched him. At the door of the Bone Throne, in the open air, under the soft blue sky of the Thorn World, Cole Ferris stood and waited to receive the one who had killed Dana Holt. He had asked to be the one. Otis Ward had not understood why, at first, and Cole had not been able to fully explain it. It was not for revenge. Cole had no taste for revenge. He had discovered that about himself over the long weeks of the war. It was something quieter. It was that he had been there at the beginning, in the Hall of Stone when the blade came down, and it felt right that he should be there at the end, so that the line from the first moment to the last would be carried, unbroken, by a single witness. He was a translator. He believed in carrying things through to the end with their meaning intact. The galaxy never forgot it. That was the point. The elder powers who had shrugged when the Kareth declared open hunting on humanity, who had said let them thin the soft creatures of the Rim, watched 500,000 human dreadnoughts arrive at the hunt reach for the death of one woman, and then watched those same dreadnoughts withdraw, without burning a single world, taking only the one who had broken the law of truce, and they understood two things at once, and the two things together kept the peace for 100 years. The first thing was that humanity could end any of them whenever it chose. The second thing, which frightened them far more, was that humanity chose not to. A power that can destroy you and decides not to is a far more terrifying thing than a power that simply destroys, because it means the restraint is a choice, and the choice can be unmade, and they had all just seen exactly what unmade it. Kill one human under a flag of peace, and the open hand closes. The survey lane became human, in perpetuity, and no Kareth ever hunted there again. The 141 surrendered ships were returned to the hunt reach untouched, as promised, and Tooth That Does Not Break lived another 40 years and became, against every expectation, the architect of a long peace between the Kareth and humanity, a peace built on the one afternoon when the warrior caste chose honor over a butcher and the human fleet chose restraint over revenge. The old huntmaster and Cole Ferris remained, in the strange way of such things, something close to friends, two beings from opposite ends of a war that had ended before it truly began, bound by the memory of a sky full of steel and a choice made under it. The Hunt Lord answered for Dana Holt in the open, under both laws, in front of the galaxy he had wanted to impress, and the galaxy watched, and the song the Kareth had sung about the small soft thing that lost its hand was never sung again. A different song replaced it, sung quietly, in the deep dark, by every power that had ever looked at humanity and counted only the soft ships. It was not a song of triumph, it was a song of warning, and the warning was simple. Do not measure them by what they show you. Do not mistake the open hand for weakness. They will let you believe anything you like, for as long as you like, soft and young and crawling at the rim, and they will absorb your insults and bow under your flags and ask only to be left alone to grow. But somewhere in the dark, where no scanner will ever find it, they are building. And the day you decide that one of their lives is free, they will show you all of it, all at once, and the sky will turn to steel above your home, and you will look up and understand, far too late, that you were never the hunter. Cole Ferris went home after that. He was offered rank and command and a place in the program that had hidden 500,000 ships for 40 years, and he turned all of it down because he was a translator, and what he wanted was to keep being one. But before he left the fleet, he asked Otis Ward for one thing, and Otis Ward granted it. They had recovered Dana Holt's body from the Kareth, wrapped in the soft blue parley flag they had thrown after Cole like garbage. Earth had kept the flag. And on the day the survey lane was formally ceded to humanity in perpetuity, on a small new station built at the edge of the lane she had died trying to open, they raised that same blue flag again, mended and clean, over the place that now bore her name, Holt's Reach, a way station for human survey ships, on a lane no Kareth would ever again be permitted to hunt, under a flag that had once been thrown away as garbage and was now the most respected symbol in that quarter of the galaxy. Cole Ferris stood beneath it on the day they raised it. Iris Vance stood beside him in her plain gray coat. Otis Ward stood a little apart, watching the soft blue cloth catch the light of a distant star, the same gray-haired captain who had ended 400 ships and burned not a single world. She came to open a lane, Cole said quietly, looking up at the flag. She wanted people to be able to travel safely through the dark. That was all she ever wanted. He was silent for a moment. And now they can, forever, under her name. Under her flag, Iris Vance said. The same one they threw away, Otis said. He looked at the blue cloth a long moment. That's the part they'll never understand, the ones who watched. They think the lesson was the 500,000 ships. It wasn't. The ships were just the volume. The lesson was the flag. He turned from it. They thought an open hand was an invitation to take. We showed them an open hand is the only thing in this galaxy strong enough to hold 500,000 dreadnoughts back when they're already in your sky. That's the strength they should be afraid of. Not the fleet, the hand that chose not to use it. The flag moved gently in the station's slow rotation, soft blue over Holt's Reach, over the open lane, over the dark that no longer had teeth in it. And Cole Ferris, translator, who had carried the lesson out and the answer back, who had stood twice in a hall of stone and watched a blade come down and then be set aside, found at last the word he had been looking for since the first day. He had spent the whole long war trying to name the thing the human fleet had been, the thing that arrived as a sky of steel and left having burned nothing. It was not vengeance. Vengeance burned worlds. It was not mercy, exactly, because mercy forgives, and the Hunt Lord had not been forgiven. It was something harder than either, something the Kareth had no word for, and humanity had nearly forgotten it possessed. The word was justice, cold, exact, overwhelming justice, delivered with 500,000 dreadnoughts and a single open hand, and aimed with such terrible precision that it touched the one who earned it and spared everyone who did not. They had executed one human under a flag of peace and called it free. So Earth had answered with 500,000 dreadnoughts and shown the galaxy the true and final price. And then, having shown it, Earth had lowered the hand and raised the flag and gone home. The galaxy remembered both. It always would. Under the soft blue flag at Holt's Reach, the human survey ships went out again into the dark, unarmed, open-handed, exactly as before, because nothing had changed about what humanity wanted. Only the galaxy had changed, in what it now understood. The soft ships drifted out along the open lane, and the powers that watched them let them pass, every one of them, and not one of them ever again mistook the open hand for an empty one.